11th, 2022, 10:25 a.m. Eastern Time. Americans paid less for gasoline but more for groceries and air travel last month, as the broader pace of inflation eased slightly but remained historically high. A fall in energy costs led the way toward the smaller overall gain, with gasoline prices dropping a seasonally adjusted 6.1% in April, following a steep advance in crude oil prices in March after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Groceries rose by 1% over March and were up 10.8% over the last 12 months, the largest 12-month increase since November 1980, the Labor Department said. Broadly, many price categories continued to show monthly increases, and overall prices rose 0.3% over the prior month, though the pace of increases eased to 8.3% in April from 8.5% in March on an annual basis. Below are a few of the categories that saw significant price increases, and ones where prices have retreated from recent highs. Gas prices. Despite the monthly decline, gasoline prices were up 43.6% over the last 12 months. Russia's invasion of Ukraine drove gasoline prices up 18.3% in March from a month earlier, the largest monthly increase since 2009. And the pain at the pump hasn't been resolved. Gasoline prices hit a record high Tuesday, not adjusting for seasonality, eclipsing the previous high from March 11th. Crude oil prices have continued to rise as the European Union considers a ban on Russian oil, a move that would continue to shrink the global supply of oil as demand remains strong. Overall energy costs, also including electricity and natural gas, dropped 2.7% on the month in April and rose 30.3% over the year. Groceries. The April increase in grocery prices was somewhat slower than the 1.5% gain in March. Still, it marked the fourth straight month grocery prices increased by at least 1%. Dairy prices, led by milk, shot up in April by 2.5%, while fruits and vegetables saw modest price declines. Costs for cereals and bakery products rose by more than 1% last month and are up more than 10% over the year as limited grain and fertilizer exports from Ukraine and Russia ripple through the global food supply. Travel and shelter. Americans are traveling again, and high demand combined with continued supply constraints on labor and jet fuel are sharply increasing prices. Airline fares increased by 18.6% in April, the largest single-month increase since records began in 1963. They're up by 33% over the past year. Lodging at hotels and motels rose 2% in April after advancing 3.7% in March. Staying home has gotten more expensive too, but at a significantly slower rate. Shelter costs rose 0.5% over the month at 5.1% from a year earlier. New and used vehicles. Prices for new and used cars are moving in opposite directions as the shortages on used car lots ease somewhat, but supply chain headaches and limited availability of crucial components like semiconductors hurt production of new vehicles, forcing automakers to warn of elevated prices and limited availability at least through the rest of 2022. Prices for new cars rose by 1.1% in April, accelerating from a 0.2% rise in March. But prices for used cars and trucks fell by 0.4% in April, a third straight month of declines after a long period of steady increases throughout the pandemic. From a year earlier, okay, y'all, you heard that. So, groceries, they said, has hit historic levels in inflation. And you know what? What are the Democratic Party doing about this? Nothing. You know, Joe Biden just babbles on about the inflation, but do we really see any changes out here? We see nothing. But at the meantime, everything is going at historic levels. It's so bad that donations, I know around here where I am, are down at the food banks. People are not frequenting, the food bank to do donations anymore. And that's usually the norm during times of, inflation or recession. Whenever those things occur, it's less people doing donations. And I mean, it's a shame because there are a lot of people out here in need, but while it's become tight and people tend to hang on
to the things they do have. And, it's really unfortunate for people that really depend on those sort of things. But overall, in April, they said the increase in grocery prices are historic around the country. And chances are it will probably get worse because they are talking about how it is continuing to rise across the nation. And wow. So, across the nation, they're saying the inflation has increased 8.3% over the past 12 months. And year over year, grocery prices went up 10.8% compared to the 10% increase in March, according to the report. That's the largest monthly increase since November 1980. So the biggest things hit are monthly increases for meats, poultry, fish, eggs went up 1.4%, and that was back in March. And the category increased by more than 14% over the past 12 months. And that is the largest increase since May of 1979. The year over year cost increase from 7.8% for fruits and vegetables to 14.3% for meat, poultry, fish, and eggs, 11% for other foods that, they're probably more like your miscellaneous snacks and stuff like that. Egg costs rose 10.3% from March to April. They are up 22% year over year. Um, and the increased cost of ground beef slowed, going from 2.1% from February to March to 1.3%, but March to April, but it's still at 14.8% year over year. So, food costs away from home, this means dining out, grabbing fast food, going to a convenience store. That rose 0.6% in April, an increase of 0.3% from March. Year over year, food away from home rose 7% in April. Full service meals like those you get at a restaurant rose at 9% over the last 12 months. So they're telling you to expect higher prices over these next coming months for food, shelter, airline fares, and new car costs. And so those things will continue to increase across the country. So, I mean, the sad part in this article, there is nothing from politicians and what they intend on doing about all this inflation and shortages that are going on out here. But I did see another story today about them signing a bill for $40 billion to go to Ukraine. Oh boy. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.